talk is about a teeny bot that will conquer the bot world with Swift. My name is Fabrizio Brancati, and I'm a mobile team leader at Nexi. Nexi is a company specialized in payment systems, and our team focused on creating SDKs that allows our customers to accept payment inside their apps. I am also a Ray Vanderleek iOS tutorial writer. So, the SwiftyBot is a bot written on top of Vapor. So, it's obviously made in Swift, and the icon is made by a bird logo transformed to a bot. I didn't make it, but my ex-colleague did realize it. So, why Google Assistant? Google focused on Assistant on all of these platforms, from telephones to, for example, Google Home Mini. So, assistants are an important part of our lives today. And currently, there are only Alexa and Google Assistant as a real assistants in Italy. So I decided to go to Google Assistant. Why Swift? Swift is growing a lot, even on backend. And it has a great community to follow, and there are a lot of apps made in Swift. And anyway, this is a Swift event, so I had no choice. Last year, Apple created a Swift server group that is focused on the server side of Swift and is responsible for providing technical direction and to choose what frameworks need to be created with Swift and which libraries needs to be promoted inside the Swift community. Also, the creator of Vapor are part of the team. This is a demo of the bot. Here I tapped on the trigger that will start the interaction with the bot. So, for example, if you say to your Google Home, "Hey Google, talk to SwiftyBot example," you will get an answer directly from the bot Swift. You can say hi to him, and he will respond you with greetings or hi or other type of greetings. You can ask to buy something to show an example of a carousel where you can select an item inside a list. As you can see, there are some differences between a device with a display and an audio-only device like a Google Home Mini or the bigger one. As you can see, the one with the display will display the list of the items. Meanwhile, the one without a display will say that it cannot display the carousel items on that device. That message is inside the bot. It's not the default by Google. So you can choose a different action based on the device. You can ask for help, and the bot will respond you with a list of the allowed intent. Even here, you can see the differences between a device with a display and a device without a display. You can say cancel or stop to the bot to stop the interaction. This bot is available on all the Google Assistant supported devices. So from a mobile device to Android TV to a Wear OS or a Google Home. You can use that bot on a Mac with Xcode or Linux by installing the Swift toolchain or by using SwiftEnv, for example, that allow you to have different versions of Swift inside your machine. In this talk, you need a Mac with Xcode 11 and a basic knowledge of Swift and a Google account, because everything will pass through Google. So the first step is to create a project. Inside Xcode 11, Apple allowed us to create Swift packages from the new Swift package option. So if you select that, you can create the bot from scratch. The first step is set our dependencies. So what dependencies we need? Currently, we just need one dependency, that is Vapor. Vapor is a web framework for Swift, which is built on top of Swift Neo. What is Swift Neo? Swift Neo is a low-level building high-performance networking application in Swift. It uses promises and features to avoid input-output blocking. So go back to Vapor. The original bot was written for Telegram and used Vapor version 1. Then from the migration from Vapor 1 to Vapor 2, I added support to Facebook Messenger, and now for the third version of Vapor, I added support for Google Assistant. In a few months, I think that Vapor 4 will be released, and maybe I will add another bot platform. So the first thing is to open the package.swift file and add the dependency, the Vapor dependency. Currently, the last version is the 3.3. So with these few lines, we can declare our dependency inside our package. The next thing is to set the environment. To set our environment, we need to create a key. And with this snippet of code, you can create a random string that we will use later. Or you can just press random key on your keyboard. This is to be sure that only Google can call our bot, because otherwise the address will be public and we can be sure that only Google can call us. This is an example of the created string with the previous command. Now we need to put our string inside our environment, for example, inside our bash profile. And we will use this string later during this talk. Next thing is to read this environment variable with the code, with Swift. So if we import Vapor, Vapor will allow us to easily get the environment variables just by using environment.get, and with the key that we used to save the key inside our bash profile, for example. Now we have to create the real bot, and we have to move to the Google Assistant console. So we have to go to console.actions.google.com, and we have to create our bot. This is an example of the view that we see inside the Google Action Console. You can choose the name of your project, you can choose the language, that you can even change later or add more languages later, and you can change your country. Once created, you will see a navigation bar with a develop tab. here we will see how Google will interact with our bot. So for this example, we have to say, hey Google, talk to SwiftlyBot example to interact with our bot. Currently, only 2 words or more are supported. You can't use only one. The next step is to go to the Action tab. And we don't have any action here, so we have to add our first action. By clicking on the Create Your First Action, you will be redirected to Dialogflow. This is the only way currently to interact with a bot on Google Assistant platform. So you have to use the Dialogflow. But what is it? Dialogflow is a Google-owned developer of human-computer interaction technologies based on natural language conversation. So what does it do? It helps us to better understand what our customers want to say to us by using machine learning. So after Dialogflow opens, we have to choose the language even here at the time zone. Once created, you will see a list of default intent. Here we have a default welcome intent and the default fallback intent. So let's open the default welcome intent. You can see an event tab where there are some predefined events that Google created for us. So there is an already trained model that can be used for this intent. You can even trigger this event without a need for a matched text or a spoken word. The next action is the training phrases, where you can put some phrases that can train our model. For example, just going to say, hey, hello, greetings, hi there. These phrases will trigger our bot with the default welcome intent. And these ones are the default responses. For example, how are you doing? Hello, how can I help you? And other responses. So this intent doesn't even use our SwiftBot because it's a standalone one, so it can even work without anything. So going back to the list, the default intent list, and open the fallback one. What is a fallback intent? A fallback intent are triggered if a user input is not matched by any of the regular intent. So if any of your created intent matched the words that the user says, the default fallback intent will be called. Inside the fallback intent, there are only responses because you don't have any action. So now we have to create the first bot intent. For the first bot intent, we'll create the help intent that will help our users to understand how to interact with our bot and what are his capabilities. So we have to put some phrases. For example, why are you here? What can you do? What is your purpose? Can you help me? Help. At the end of the sections, you can see a fulfillment section where you can enable the webhook call for this intent. This is very important because without it, our bot wouldn't be called by Google. So by enabling it, Google will call our bot with a webhook. The next intent that we will create is a carousel intent. Carousel intent is a list of items that the user can scroll and select. Even here, we have to add some phrases to understand how our intent will be called. For example, send me something, what can I buy something. Also here, we have to enable the webhook call for this intent. This is very important. Now we have to set the fulfillment. So we have to set the address that Google will call us. In this case, I used Vapor Cloud to deploy the bot. And as you can see, at the end of the URL, there is the previously created string that will, with that, we'll be sure that only Google can call us. You can even use a basic authentication or readers if you want. So now, back to code. This is an example of the response that Google can handle from the bot. So to use Codable from Swift, as you can see, we have to create a lot of structs. We have to create 5 structs: the payload, Google payload, rich response item, and simple response. So after created that, we will create a response struct with the payload struct that you have just created. This is a basic response. So it will take a request from Vapor and will create a payload with a Google payload and a rich response with an array of rich response items with inside a simple response. Here you can see the difference between the text-to-speech and display text. Text-to-speech is for devices that doesn't have a display, and display text is for the devices that has a display. So this is to handle the default case in case we don't understand what the user said, even if an intent was called. So we don't want to say only errors. This is the request that we have to send to Google. It's very complex. So to let Google understand what we want to respond to the user, we have to create a lot of structs to do that. Once created all these structs, you can decode the request by using sync decode. Why sync? Because we don't want to create futures or to handle futures just for decoding our request. This code explains how to check if the user request has an help intent. And we will set the text-to-speech and display text that will be different from the error one. Also here, the messages are different for devices with a display and devices without a display. As you can see, the first one is like a discourse, and the second one is like a list of options. For the carousel intent, we use an array of carousel items that will populate our carousel. Our carousel are made of an image, a description, a name, and a URL. Even here, there are differences for text-to-speech and display text. This is in case of our device can't handle carousel. Now we can create the final response just by encoding self on the event loop and return to Google the final response. we are encoding self, so the response, and we are creating the JSON that Google needs. Now we have to create the funnel route. The route is made by the assistant word and the assistant secret that we created earlier. The path will be created automatically by Vapor. And for that, we will create the response for the request. And the last step is to open the configure.swift file that every Vapor app has, and to add our final route by registering it to the Vapor service. We are adding all the routes to the services by registering the router as a router class. Now we have to deploy the bot, but where can we deploy it? We can choose a lot of services like Vapor Cloud that allow us to deploy a bot easily by using their toolbox. That is a command line interface that allows us to using a shell to deploy our bot. It has some free tier, so you can use it for free. You can deploy it to Heroku by using even here the free tier, just by adding the details of your credit card. Without any transaction, you can get the bot working 24 hours. You can use the Amazon Web Services. You can even use your private server if you want by installing the Swift toolchain. As I said earlier, by using maybe SwiftEnv, that will be a lot easier. Or any other service that you want. After the deploy, we can test our bot with the simulator that the Google Assistant Console exposes. As I showed you in the demo previously. So the project is open source and is available at github.com/Fabrizio Brancati/SwiftyBot. It's growing, and I'm adding a lot of platforms sometimes. The next that I'm planning to add is Alexa. Thanks for listening, and this is almost everything. Any question?